The 2019 offseason for the New York Jets is one that I think is going to be memorable in the minds of fans because we're talking about the season after Sam Darnold's rookie year. This is the time to really capitalize on Sam Darnold. If you believe he is this quarterback of the future, if you believe he is your franchise quarterback that's going to lead you to success, you need to immediately surround him with talent. And the 2019 NFL Draft is another avenue outside of free agency where the Jets had a great free agency. They brought in many big names from Le'Veon Bell to CJ Mosley to Jamison Crowder. The list goes on. But the New York Jets overall have made a drastic change in terms of their roster talent from 2018 to 2019. And they've added a few more pieces to that mix here in the 2019 Draft. What's going on? It's Mitch here of The Bottom Line View. Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL and comment below your opinion on the draft. Do you like this draft? Do you hate this draft? Let me know. Okay, let's get into my analysis, my draft grade for the New York Jets in the 2019 draft. Starting off with a player that I believe will be a future All-Pro for many years to come. Their number 3 overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft, Quinn Williams, defensive tackle of Alabama. Now, I know that many Jets fans are kind of sitting there and like, we didn't want an interior defensive lineman. How many times are we going to take an interior defensive lineman? Well, Quinn Williams is the best player in this draft, in my opinion. So to me, you got the best player in the draft. And to me, you got one of the best interior defensive prospects since Aaron Donald. Like, I think he's in that range for how great he can be. He can be a player that can take over the game in both stopping the run and getting after the quarterback. And that's rare for a player that's an interior player. Often they're either really good pass rusher or they're not as good as a run defender, or they're a really good run defender, big guys who can't necessarily pass rush. Quinn Williams is in the mold of a bigger guy that can stop the run, but it can also be a force in the pass rush. So Quinn Williams was a monster. There's on his film, there's really nothing for me to say negatively. He just takes over games along the defensive line and dominates physically. I think, again, best player on the board at this point, number 3 overall. They picked the right player. I don't care who you have on your team. Quinn Williams is a difference maker. And if you really think about it in today's modern NFL, you need interior disruptors and pass rushers. You can have edge rushers that are going to run around Tom Brady all day, but you need those players that are going to push the pocket in Tom Brady's face. That's how you make the difference, especially if you're a Jets fan and we're talking about Tom Brady. So Quinn Williams, great pick for the Jets. Really love this pick overall. And then their next pick, they didn't have many picks in this draft because of the whole Sam Darnold trade. In the 3rd round, they get Jachai Polite of Florida, an outside linebacker edge player that was really earlier in this process looking like a 1st-round pick, possibly a late early 2nd-round pick, a late 1st-round pick. But a lot of people had him in that area early in this draft process. Some things happen. Some guys just in the NFL draft process aren't able to really handle it. You know, it's a lot like going from the combine straight out of college, then doing all the team workouts and really maintaining what you're supposed to do the whole time. And some guys are just not made for that process. And it really felt like Polite was not made for that process. And that's possibly why he slipped. People are saying that it's because of his maturity, whatever. Based on the player, he was very productive in college. He had 17.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks in 2018. He's mostly a pure pass rusher. He had 6 forced fumbles last season. And I think this is the type of player that the Jets wanted. And to get him in the 3rd round is very solid value. Oftentimes, players that fall from one year to the next, like a player that was supposed to be a 1st-round pick in 2017 and then falls in the 2018 draft or the 2018-2019, vice versa, doesn't matter. Those players often kind of come through as diamonds in the rough. And Jachai Polite could be that guy for the Jets. I think in the 3rd round, he was the best player for them to select at this position. And I think you got great value for a player that is a pure pass rusher, for a player that instantly will impact your team in 2019. He is a player that can play on 3rd down, get after the quarterback, and make a difference right away. So I really like this pick as well. I'm not so concerned with a third round pick about the maturity issues. We haven't really heard anything that's really crazy off the field. So I think this is a steal for the most part in the third round. We'll see if it develops into that going forward. After that pick, they have another third round pick, Chuma Okeke, offensive tackle from USC. Now, he actually played with Sam Darnold. He's a former teammate of Sam Darnold, so that obviously helped them. I'm sure the Jets actually asked Sam Darnold about this player, and that must have given them confidence in picking him. He projects as a right tackle for the New York Jets. He's about 6'3". The move does make sense because the Jets don't have a lot of great tackles or offensive linemen in general on their team. So again, they address a need here. I think their biggest needs were edge rusher and tackle. So by getting the best player on the board, who is an interior defensive lineman in the first round, the best player they think could impact their team in Quinn Williams, they then follow that up with getting two players that I believe will impact their team right away, start right away, or at least contribute right away, and have positions of need. So Chuma Okeke, I think maybe he doesn't start right away because they have Beachum and they have Shell at left and right tackle. But I think Okeke will instantly be the swing tackle. And if one of those guys goes down, he will instantly get a start. So I think, a little bit inconsistent in college. That's why he's a third round pick. But he did rank number 2 last season in pass blocking efficiency for Pro Football Focus. Sam Darnold loves him. So the Jets fans, I think you'll love him too. Fourth round, Trevon Wesco of West Virginia, tight end. Now, this is a guy that I was really fascinated with because I actually thought personally my Patriots would pick him, but instead he goes to the Jets here because he is a very versatile tight end. He's arguably the best blocking tight end in this draft, and that's because he can also play fullback. He's 6'3", 267. He's a big man, he's strong, and he'll instantly impact the Jets in terms of blocking, and I think versatility as well. He only has 28 career catches. Most of them came last season, with 26 of them coming last season. But I think his versatility to be able to play fullback or tight end, I think is something that's unique. And also when just looking at the depth chart of the Jets, they did need a tight end. They did need a second tight end at the very least. They have a decent young player for their first string, but they needed a backup. And Wesco can not only contribute as a fullback, but also a tight end. So that's nice to see. And I really like this pick because I was going to like this pick no matter where he went, because this is the type of player that I really like. So personally, Wesco is a nice pick in the 4th round. And then in the 5th round, they get Blake Cashman, inside linebacker of Minnesota. He is a player that is probably going to be a special teamer, at least to start. He walked on, I believe, to become team captain at Minnesota. He led the team in tackles in Minnesota with 104. He also made 15 tackles for loss and had 2.5 sacks. He's not really that big. He's 6'1", 235, but this is a case of picking a player that has great personality, great leadership skills, just a smart kid that comes in and he'll contribute to the team in any way possible. So that's nice in the 5th round to get a player like that who could contribute in some way as a linebacker, but probably going to be a special teams player. And also looking at the depth chart for the Jets, this wasn't really a need pick. This was more picking a player that they think is going to be a good personality and a good kind of player in terms of their system. That's really what they're looking for here in the 5th round. And that was their that wasn't their last pick of the draft. They had Austin, corner of Rutgers. Now, I think this is basically, and what we see a lot in the NFL is picking corners at the end of the draft that are freaky athletes. And this is a case of that. He's interesting because he's had some injuries. He had back-to-back knee surgeries in 2017 and 2018. He only played 5 combined games in those seasons. He's 6'1". He's athletic. He's a freaky athlete, so to speak. So you just add him to that rotation of corners, or at least competition at the corner position, a position that I do feel is kind of weak for the Jets. So you add him there, see what he can do, see if he can bounce back from the injury, see if he's better than the value in the 6th round. And why not take a chance? It's the 6th round. So they get Austin from Rutgers in the 6th round, and that is all the picks for the Jets. They did not have many. They addressed some of their needs, though, specifically edge rusher, tackle, fullback, tight end. That was a need pick. They got a great player in Quinn Williams, who will be a beast right away. Polite, I think, will contribute right away. I think Cashman will be a nice kind of special teams player for them. Adoga will be a swing tackle right away for them. So they did get contributors right away, but they also got guys that are going to be good for their team going forward. So the New York Jets, I would have to give interesting because they didn't have a 2nd round pick. They didn't really have a ton of picks. I'm going to give them a B plus because I think if you get Quinn Williams at 3rd overall when he's the best player, and even though he fell to you, it's still wise picking him. He could be an all-pro. You get your swing tackler or a tackle for the future. You get a pass rusher who I think is a steal in the 3rd round. I think a B plus is fair for the Jets in the 2019 NFL Draft. I would have possibly liked them to have picked a corner, maybe higher, but that's about it, and possibly address their offensive line more. But, I mean, they didn't have that many picks to work with because when you're trading up to get Sam Darnold, that's going to happen. So, overall, B plus for the Jets. Like their draft. Think they're going to be a much improved team this year. Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And comment below your opinion on the Jets season this year and also their draft. Peace out.